And we are going. What is going on with everybody? It is your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Green Dungeon, giving it to you real raw rugged. And I got somebody on another line right now, man. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, man. Who we got?
My name is Kaelin Ellis. I am from Florida. I'm a musician, producer, and just a creative.
Hey, man. My subscribers they get annoyed all the time because I'm always talking about Florida and how I love Florida artists or whatever. So once I learned you was from Florida, man, I had to get you on here. So I'm glad I could have you on as a creative mind as yourself. And yeah, man, I thank you for dedicating some time to me for your day, brother.
Bless.
So let's I guess get right to it on how I even discovered who you were, man. So, um, I seen that Lupe was releasing the album, and I seen the featuring Kaelin Ellis or something like that. Lupe and Kaelin Ellis. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe a rapper, not really for sure. Didn't do really too much research until I heard the album. So I noticed that it was just him rapping throughout the whole time. So I'm like, okay, this must be a producer. I'm listening to the beats, phenomenal. A1, great beats. And what added on to it is I was like, he from Florida? I was like, he from Orlando? What y'all call it? He from the O, man? Like, he from the big O? I was like, okay, this is... He done went from fire to amazing in my mind right now. So, listen to that. Listen to a couple of your last projects. You doing electronic type of music. Then I listened to, was the last one Memories? That's what it's called, right?
Moments.
Moments. I don't
Moments.
know why I keep
Club.
saying Memories.
I
Moments.
was gonna call moments. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm on some Florida shit. I'm reading your mind, man. You know what I'm saying? That's that Florida telepathy or whatever you want to call it, telepathy. But
Yeah.
yeah, and Blackness, Love. We'll get into that in a minute because I want to talk about a couple songs in there because there's a lot of songs in there that I really want to talk about. But just want to let you know before we get into this interview, amazing artist, and I'm glad I could sit here and talk to you, man. You're really really talented, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
It's interesting because I'm pretty sure you told this story a couple times, but Lupe found you on Twitter and chopped it up and gave you. But what I don't know is once he found your beat, did he like DM you like, hey, you want to do a full project, or like how did that go?
So it kind of like it was kind of like one thing that kind of led to another. I have because like this year has been like the first time that I've kind of garnished some type of following from what I do. Because prior to Lupe, I have been creating beat videos since I believe February. I was supposed to be like traveling and doing shows, and when COVID hit, I remember I was trying to find something that could like occupy my time and have the same impact as that what would happen after a show. Like you do a show and people see your name on the screen, that type of notoriety.
Yeah.
So I find something that could do the same thing. And so beat videos was like a common theme since February of this year. And I think in May, I had this idea for a track, which kind of led to moments. Everything was like very soul inspired, but it was like all ideas that were kind of like coming to me in the moment. And so I remember I had just recorded everything and played all the instruments from the night before, and then the very next day I posted it, and the following day I retweeted it. Now, all of my followers were like, tagging people and artists that would be dope over the beat.
Yeah.
And one of my followers named Drew's Beats on Twitter tagged Lupe Fiasco, and Lupe Fiasco responded with recording an entire beat video from like screen recording it and looping it on GarageBand. And it was like homies of mine were calling me like, yo, man, you won't believe who just rapped over your beat, bro. And Lupe even uploaded it on his his Instagram too. And he didn't even have me tagged. And then that's when all of my followers were like, yo, this is Kaelin Ellis. And that's when I was like bugging out. And so Lupe follows me. Then he sees that all my followers are tagging me, and that's when I DM him. And he's like, "Yo, send me some tracks." Just and he gives me his email, and I gave him like all these different tracks. And on top of that, I got his number. And so I guess the one thing that made him, want to work with me, including with the beat packs, for like, I kept sending him all the beat videos I kept making afterwards. So I would make a beat video and then text them like right after, and be like, "Yo, I just made this. Yo, I just made this," which is like what happened with another one. There's another track he rapped over It was an older beat, but it was called "Rest Up, Big Homie." He put it on his IGTV, and that was like a freestyle for like the whole George Floyd thing that had took place recently. And so it was like one thing that kind of led to another, and all of a sudden he kind of just realized it was like a whole project. And so I gave him all these beats. A week into June, he goes, "Yeah, I got this whole thing mapped out. I just got to finish recording it." And so a week later, he sends me the whole recording with Virgil Abloh, like already talking over it. Like he already had everything mapped out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like one thing that kind of like led from another thing to another. And yeah.
So when he first gave you his number and his email and you were texting him, was there any discussion of making any music, or was it just like, hey, send me something, like here's like keep in contact, or what?
So yeah, there was like, because like I remember he was like, "Yo, I need to set up a business call. I want to put you on the phone with my business guy." And he also has like a guy that like, kind of like helps him with all the business affairs that he does. And he puts me on the phone with this guy. I'm forgetting his name right now. I'm like halfway out of it now. But it was his business partner. And Lupe is like going off about like, "Yo, homie, I got this guy named Kaelin Ellis that I just, found on Instagram and Twitter. And, I want to do an EP with him." And he was like, Lupe was like going off about all these concepts and ideas. And that's when his business partner goes, "Lupe, I love you, bro. And I've been working with you for the last 10 years. You know I have the best interests at heart." And he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Can you please tell me who this is? Like, because I don't know who Kaelin Ellis is." And so, yeah, it was like I had a phone call discussion with him. And it was like I could see that we both like kind of resonated on the same understanding of like music and how like music serves a certain purpose to help and serve people. And so from that was kind of like, all right, this is kind of like a cool person to work with. And so I just started sending him beats, and I realized he wasn't, annoyed with anything I was sending him because, he never said anything sounded bad. So I was like, okay, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
I kept sending stuff to him until he was like, "All right, I need you to make edits to this and this. I need you to make this beat 10 minutes long." I'm like, 10 minutes long? He's like, "Yeah." So
That's interesting because I bring that up just because you say you didn't get annoyed. Is because I've interviewed like a lot of like really famous people and I have their number, and I'm like, bro, should I text this nigga this? Like, I don't know if I should do this. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know if you ever got to the point where you was like, should I press send on this, or like, would he probably get annoyed?
yeah, like I mean, like I have this kind of philosophy where it comes to like, let's say if you meet someone on creative terms for like, they know if you make beats. For me, I'm a person that likes to make beats and just send it to people to see how they respond. If they respond, send me this stem or send me whatever, I kind of like realize you can't really annoy people with really good music a lot. Like you could send a lot of really good music, and so folks know like, "Yo, you always sending me beats." Yeah. Like they all sound good. You can't, if they sound bad, then they'll be like, "Don't text me this anymore." So yeah, I just realized like I texted him one beat. He said it was fire. Another one, he was like, "Yo, extend this 2, 3, 4 more minutes." And I realized it was cool. Like I was cool to like just send him a bunch of stuff. So
was that your first time working with anybody that big?
Personally, yeah. Like having his phone number, meaning like, "Yo, I can text this guy and be like, yo, I can do this." Yeah, it's like the first time I've ever been able to do that.
It seemed like you played it cool too. A lot of niggas probably would have fumbled it. You know what I'm saying? Like you sound like you knew what to do with it. You knew to send them the beats. You knew the text. Like you seem like you knew what to do with it. It's like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people that finally meet a famous person, they get to interact with them, they fumble the bag. So like, do you have like a networking background or something? Because you played it smooth.
I mean, it's more like I guess like when it comes to networking, because everybody I've learned, especially in music, because I grew up with around a lot of creators where I just created a lot of music around a lot of artists.
Yeah.
And so in that landscape, what do artists typically need? They typically need beat songs to kind of write to. And so I try to like cater to what would help somebody, serving a purpose, which is what music does. And so, yeah, I'm not the best at networking, but I like to build genuine connections with people. So like it's not always about just the music. Like, it's like building a real connection with somebody. That way, like years from now, I'm like, yo, like man, I remember you were always sending me some stuff, and you'd send me some, inspirational quote type stuff.
Yeah.
Because for me, music is like one layer of it. It's like multiple things that go into it to kind of like help somebody else. So, yeah, I guess a lot of networking does go into it, but it's just building real, genuine connections with people.
Well, you have like this. You bring it up a lot about the importance of music and how like it's very important to you and how it can be very important to the world or whatnot. And you're an instrumentalist. You know how to play instruments or whatnot. So I'm curious, did that stem from that, or were you like that before you even knew how to play instruments? Because I learned how to play an instrument, and I feel like I was on the same type of wave where I'm like, yeah, this is kind of like different when you really like know what you're listening to. I feel like you're on the like you're thinking differently.
Yeah, I guess I kind of grew into it because beforehand I used to like have a lot of beats and just kind of keep it to myself. I wouldn't like play a lot of my stuff for people because I was always on the weird experimenting end. I was never like trying to make like a certain kind of beat that was like on one type of style and I throw it with this, what would it sound like? And so it just kind of like, stemmed one into each other. And, I managed to be able to get more confident in musicianship because beforehand I wasn't the best at playing instruments. I had started actually playing piano about 5 years ago in high school. And it kind of like went one thing to another. And, I got more comfortable playing a certain chord. So I just kind of like stayed there in that one thing. And it just kind of took off from there. So
you just said something to think about. You said 5 years ago around high school you were playing piano. That's when you first learned, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought you were like 16 this whole time. How old are you, bro?
I'm 23 now.
This nigga older than me. That's crazy. I thought she was like 17 or something. I'm like, bro, this nigga Lupe done got a little kid producer for him, bro. I'm like, this nigga going crazy too, man. That's funny. No, I realized you probably were a little older when I looked at like your discography. You had music like 2015. I was like, I know this nigga went 5 years old making this shit, bro. I'm like, this nigga had to be a little older, so that make a lot of sense. But that's interesting. You talk about like playing instruments and whatnot, and you play drums, piano. What else you know how to play?
I play drums, piano. I'm heavy on synthesizers and percussion. And if you want to count a laptop, then yeah, I know how to like program things very well.
I was in a symphonic band, and it was like I didn't have any background on how to play anything, so I went and think I'm finna play the drums. I'm black. I'm like few of the black kids. I'm finna be going crazy. So I'm thinking I'm finna do it. Hey, nigga told me get your ass out of here. I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to play this. And I had so much respect for a percussionist after that, bro. Being a percussionist and being like I've never been in a marching band. I feel like it might be a little easier in a marching band, but like being in a symphonic band where you have to be able to know how to play the xylophone, the timpani, bro. I have and you gotta like know how to keep the rhythm with your foot. You might have to be playing a different rhythm than the rest of the band. Like, bro, I have so much respect for percussionists after like, cause I play the trombone and like, I don't know, it's not that impressive playing the trombone to me. The percussion though. All hail to you guys, man. Y'all different level, bro. Y'all different, man.
Yes.
Y'all different, man. Is it like, I don't know, do you get what I'm saying? Like, maybe because it's easy to you, but like, it's difficult, bro. It's not easy.
I think because like my church background, everything was based off of the pocket of the drums. So it's like sensing out and practicing with like what kind of enhances a groove, It's like, for instance, one of the homies, the Count, is like one of the best that I personally know at like laying down percussions. It's like he has like a certain drum beat.
Yeah.
There's like certain things that he is able to like fill out. Like, oh, this feels right. Like, let me throw a little clav percussion there. Let me throw a little wood block there. Let me just get a little crazier and throw like some glass elements in there. And so it's more like just kind of filling out the element and like what kind of accents add to the groove and make it feel better, So, yeah, there used to be this guy that I grew up in church playing drums with. He would bring his percussion elements to church, including my great aunt on my dad's side. She actually had she would bring a shaker and a washboard with a spoon. And we would play certain things in church, and we would get into this groove where like we just kind of go into spontaneous worship, and you would hear like the shaker kind of popping out in the middle of the song, and I'm like, dang it, I can kind of like accent the snare to do what she's doing. And all of a sudden you got some crazy little elements that kind of add to the song. And so I realized I took that type of like mindset where it's like there's certain things you can add to the song to enhance it to make it better, and that's kind of like where it stems from for that. So yeah, it's more like just keying in and listening, really.
So even y'all think different, bro. You talking about she had a shaker, you was thinking about accent. Like, I wouldn't think about none of that, bro. I'm just sitting here. Like, I'm just sitting here. And then while we're doing that, the percussionist people, they might have to play xylophone, then run into the timpani, and then after run to the timpani, I'm like, bro, how are y'all processing all of this? And sometimes even playing different like rhythms than we're playing. Like we're playing a 4/4 rhythm, they're playing a 2/4. I'm like, bro, like what is going on? Like, you guys are insane. You guys are insane.
The secret to it is not really thinking much. It's more like you're hearing and processing. It's like when someone starts rapping and the beat is going, and all of a sudden they're hitting like this crazy pocket that kind of drums, and you're like, you know what? Maybe we need the bass to kind of move around a little bit. So behind them rapping, every hit is the bass talking with the rapper. So it's like it gives us some movement, some character, rather than just the bass playing one note.
And it's crazy because, specifically speaking of you, I'm saying like y'all do crazy stuff. I've seen you do some crazy stuff on your Instagram with the drums. I don't know if you know what video I'm talking about. I can pull it up real quick if you don't. But you had this video where, to a nigga that's probably never played an instrument, probably just like, all right, he's playing the drums. Nigga, you doing something wild. I'm pulling up right now. Hold on. It's this video right here where you're sitting down, you're playing the drums, and nope, that's the wrong video. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I had the video pulled up. I don't have the video pulled up. But it was this video where you was playing this crazy like rhythm, like you was like in a crazy like I don't know what type of time signature you were in, but dang, I'm very mad at myself. I thought I had this. Huh?
Was I like playing on a piece of glass, like a glass bottle?
I can't. Here it is, right here. Is this it? That's not it. Dang, bro. I'm gonna find it. No, it's this right here. This one.
Oh, polyrhythm.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. That's different. Like, I would love for you to explain that to people that don't know anything about music at all.
Okay, I'll try and explain it as best as I can, because for me, music is a feeling in my experience. Trying to explain that kind of theory is kind of challenging, because it's like one thing connects to another thing. And so that video particularly, I'm playing one rhythm on my right hand. My right foot is going in a totally different rhythm. And then my left foot is going in another rhythm, and my left hand is going in a different rhythm. And so it's like I've only managed to be able to do it once or twice. I'm not that good at it, but when I'm able to pull it out, I can do it, Like I had to, like, on that video, I had to start out playing on my thigh in order to be able to get the count.
Yeah.
Because I knew if I get the count, I'd be able to just transfer everything to my left side. But yeah, I'm like playing 4 different rhythms at the same time, which kind of takes a lot of practice just to get the internal clock going. Because one thing that it never dawned on me when I was in church, we would play these different grooves, but I realized there's little bitty rhythms that fit in the middle of people playing grooves. So it's like looking at it like math. My mom is also a math teacher. It's like looking at a fraction. When you look at a fraction, you got 4 sections, right? If you take that same length and put 3 sections on top of 4 sections, you have to just syncopate each one. And so that's what that video is basically doing. So it's kind of like splitting your brain to play in different ways. It's like not thinking so much, but building your internal clock to like be like, all right, this is playing this, so I'm gonna forget about this bad boy and just dun 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 dun. So it's like it's that type of thing. Yeah, man.
You're freaking music genius. Your mom's a math genius apparently. It's like it's just in your genes apparently, man. That's crazy. And it's like it's I don't know. I feel like one thing that helped me with like trying to do different rhythms or whatever. In class, he would make us like count out like the notes. So like let's say if it's like a whole bunch of half notes, we'd be like one theta, two theta, three theta, four, one theta, two theta, three theta, four, and then I guess that would like internalize like how you should play the rhythm in your mind, how long it should be, and doing polyrhythms. I don't know how that would help me doing that, but just doing like playing at different time signatures that helped me so much. But man, that's crazy playing all these different rhythms with your body parts. You're a madman. You're insane, bro. You're insane. So
But
that's just why like another reason I wanted to interview you, because I don't think I've really ever interviewed anybody and like they were kind of maybe I have, but just somebody that was like kind of versed in like music theory, and I don't know, I just think that's very interesting. And the way that Lupe goes over your beats, which are like crazy, it's beautiful. It's like he's also a very like I feel like just as complex as your music could be, his rhyme schemes could be complex, or his flows could be complex, or the patterns that he's rhyming. Everything could be complex. So I feel like the complexity of a song like Dinosaurs, which is just ridiculous. He wrote a song like I don't think I've ever heard anything like that before. And then what you're doing on the instrumentation is like it's crazy. So I would love to like just talk about like each song in the EP and just actually feel about it if you're cool with that.
I'm cool with that.
All right,
Yeah.
Dinosaurs. So like when you first heard Dinosaurs, pretty sure you probably never heard a song like that. What are you thinking?
Man, so I remember hearing Dinosaurs, and I had to play it back a couple times and understanding that Lupe is not just your straight message kind of guy. I figured he was talking about something in layers, like, because he's a very, you know, very intellectual dude who can definitely teach you something of value.
Yeah.
And within that experience, I was like, dang, I just had a lesson back in school where I learned about dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because I sure enough did not learn about dinosaurs in this facet when I was a kid. And so, yeah, that kind of, I kind of felt like he was going to at least like use that track too, because I remember making it, I was going to use it for my own project. Because I have like projects that I like to set up its own like style and sound. But I remember I made the piano riff, and something about the piano riff was like very storytelling. And so, like, you listen to 90s beats and they have like that element in it that's like someone is about to rap about a story about something. It's like that piano riff kind of did it. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna just shoot this over to him. And knowing how Lupe is, he's been stuck in the house like I have, and he was talking about dinosaurs, and I was like floored because my dad heard it on first listen. And he was like, he's really talking about dinosaurs? But at the same time, I feel like he's not talking about dinosaurs. So, yeah, that was one of the things that like kind of wowed me about it. He had the whole thing like structured already. Like the way you hear it on the EP is the way it was recorded when the demo was like done. So yeah.
It's a crazy song, and then it's crazy because you can get like a complex song like that. Even though this song is also pretty like layered as well. A beautiful song like Sleetums or Models Backwards or whatever you want to call it. Like that's a beautiful song, bro. Like, that's super beautiful. Like from your beat to the vocals of the singing to his verse. Talk about Marlene. Like it's beautiful, man. It's a good song. So I would love to like when you first heard that, like put together with the vocals and everything. Like what was your thoughts?
It felt like how growing up when I used to hear classic funk music in the early 2000s, it was that kind of like style, because everybody back in like the 2000s was on this like funky neo soul vibe. And so that particular beat actually was made about 2 years ago. I was actually I actually got off my job because I used to work as a catering specialist. Another long story. I worked as a catering specialist, and right after my job, I got off around like 9 o'clock. And I told the homie, like, yo, I want to just come through and just create something. And also at the same time, I came over to my homie GFO Paul's place. And then one of my other homies named Swavey came through, and we were just like, all right, let's just try and cook up something. And so at the same time, my buddy also bought this organ, this B3 Hammond organ. It was old, beat up, and I think the video is still on his Instagram, but we were like working on this beat. And I just remember Swavey started off playing this progression, and I added some drums. Paul played the bass, and originally it had Knee Deep, the acapella on it. So like that was like the original intentional vibe. So like at the beginning was already like a soulful, funky vibe.
Yeah.
So many years later, I gave the beat to Lupe, and I took that acapella Knee Deep vocal off, and that's when it kind of like clicked. Like, oh, he came up with something clever, because like thinking about like the time we're in, especially with COVID, what other way to make money, being at home than using the internet to kind of like do things. Like I've been utilizing the internet to be able to sell sound packets, like sound packs for producers to use. And so I was like, dang, in some facet, we're kind of like modeling, what we're doing to other people. In essence, what you're doing for production, music production, and what you do what you do and how I do it, with my production and stuff, we're all models in essence for something to somebody. And so that record was very clever, seeing how like, he managed to take something that was that old and soulful and basically take it to the same feeling that we had when we were in that room. It was like point A to like, all right, you're connecting with like what me and my homies did seven like good months back just to kind of clean it up, and then now it's like a record. So yeah.
Now it's a beautiful song. One of my favorite bars on that is the what do you say? He said like Michael, what is it? Was it Michelangelo a cousin model for Jesus? That's in the Bible.
Model for Jesus, yeah.
I love that bar. That's a fire bar. And yeah, like you said, it's crazy that you had this concept for like something soulful and something kind of just like at home-ish, and he came up with that concept coincidentally, like it's just, I think I feel like that's something to show like your two minds were built to work together. You know what I'm saying? Like it was going to happen eventually, and that's a beautiful song, man. And just like I said, your production is really, really cool to me. We're speaking about moments, not memories. We're speaking about moments, and yeah, that blackness. I love that so much. Is that I'm assuming the blackness that's from the Sounds of Blackness, right?
Yeah, I took that influence right there.
Beautiful.
Was blackness.
I love that. I love Sounds of Blackness. Optimistic is like a classic gospel song. You talking about growing up in a church? It's like an all time gospel song right there. So yeah, I love that. Joy, and then you go for something like Joy, which is very different from Blackness to me, but it's like it's almost like a little bit more challenging to listen to, and I love the fact that you can go from something like you could have something on there where it's more conventional, and then you could like challenge the listener a little bit progressively as the album goes along. And it's like, oh, okay, and that was the moment you were in. I'm assuming, like that was the moment you were feeling. So I think that's a great title, because you're showing the viewers or the listeners what moment you were in when you were making that. Is that correct to assume? Pretty sure.
Yeah, it was like each record off of it. I think especially Blackness and Joy. Blackness I made after I found out about the whole George Floyd thing, and that like I remember I don't know, just because like I usually do this thing where I go and do my workout and go run, but I just remember specifically this day I had this really high amount of pent up like righteous anger, if you will, and I remember I just had the drum pattern like stuck in my head with the bass line. I took a shower, I had the bass line and the drum just basically going the whole time. Come out the shower and I had like all the chords and everything mapped out, and that Blackness came from a moment of just like pent up anger over like something that was just unjust. And so hearing that beat and other people hearing it, it's like, dang it, now I'm triggering people to say some really, really like deep words. It's like, for what the music says and what I physically can't say, other people are able to say it, which is also a cool thing for music because it can inspire someone to say something. And especially of high value, like I've had like maybe 4 or 5 people freestyle over Blackness. Just the screen recording of Blackness before it even came out, it turned into its own thing. And so one person was like, this is the type of sound that we need. This is the sound of revolution. And I was like, it's perfect, And then Joy, was like one of those afterthoughts of like, I had the chords in my brain the whole day, but it took me a whole 24 hours just to learn the chord progression on how to play. And then I ended up laying down the whole thing before I went to bed. It was like maybe 11 or 12 o'clock in the morning. And I had the chords, and I started laying down everything else, and I had the cymbals. And then I listened back, and I'm like, dang it, this actually sounds like an old record that, you would play back from like years ago.
Yeah.
Because my dad heard it, he was like, dang, this sounds like Sunday morning church. And so I was like, all right, this is a cool moment. And then, I'm playing it back even more after uploading it. And it like reminded me of like, how Sunday morning used to sound as a kid. So I was like, all right, this is like another moment. And so I just kind of kept that thing going.
It's a beautiful album, man. White Walls is L95, right?
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me because I'm curious, is there any other song on this album where it doesn't have to be Lupe, but any rapper that you like secretly in the back of your head, like, man, I hope they hear this because I'm pretty sure they can make a crazy song over this.
There's a record off of Moments. I can't say who it is right now.
Okay.
They rapped over it. And the closest thing I'll say is I mentioned it when I was on Lupe Fiasco. Lupe Fiasco's IG Live. Like, he asked me about a couple of artists that I love to work with. Freddie Gibbs, Danny Brown, Smino. One of those brothers rapped over it.
Nigga is a multiple choice. That's hilarious. You get A, you get B.
Yeah, so it was kind of random because like I sent the beat to Lupe, and Lupe was like, "Yo, can you extend this?" I was like, "Perfect." And then after the thing, one of the artists hit me up, and he's like, "I got it," and he sent me a whole song, and I'm like, and I had to send it to Lupe, and he was like, "Guess who just rapped over this?" He's like, "Oh, that's him."
That's hard.
So yeah.
Well, how about this? Since you can't say who it is, can you say what beat it is?
The Funk.
Now I gotta play the funk real quick to see who. See who. Hold on, because it's not in my head. Hold on. I already know who it is. I ain't gonna say it though. I know who it is. I already know who it is. All right, I know I already know who it is. That's a bet. I already know who it is. That's a bet. Hey man, that's how we can close this out. I don't want to keep it for too long. So if there's anything else you got to say for the people watching out there, please let it be known.
One thing I can definitely say is, to anybody watching at home, creating, don't worry about theory. Don't worry about all the technicalities to music, because I learned being at Full Sail, because I graduated from Full Sail.
Oh, so you went to Full Sail. That's cool.
Yeah, I went to Full Sail. And so I was there for about 2 years. And within my time being there, one thing I learned about all these tools, all these theories, all these things that come along with creating music, everything is for the music to make it sound good and to enhance that feeling that you have in the studio. And so everything is musical. Don't forget, it's about the music. Number one, it's always about the music. You can't have, the whole concept of anything written until the music is done. And within creating that, what you're trying to bring across, allow what you're feeling in your spirit, in your gut, to kind of like come out. Like if you're playing a beat on loop, if your body is moving a certain way, implement that into the song. Everything is for musical purposes, because the way that human design, the universe design is, it will speak to you in a way that will tell you what to do next. So trust your intuition, stay focused on what you're trying to do, and if what you see is helping people, continue to keep doing that, because there is a purpose and a plan there for you. So that's all I have to say.
I just want to say I appreciate you for being an intelligent black brother and coming on here and gracefully speaking. Pretty sure the people will enjoy it. For everybody watching right now, until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters gonna hate, players gonna play, and y'all holla at your boy.